The samâhâne, or Mevlevi dervishes' listening hall, was built, according to literary sources, in 1809, and it contains, within its internal paintings, the dates that document the changes and additions which took place over time. The building's numerous repairs and the numerous recoveries of the dome's decorations, visible and revealed in the ultraviolet photos, originated from the subsidence of the building's foundations, which were also due to the reuse of the previous structures of the Sunkur Saadi Madrasa, on which the samâhâne was built. The stratigraphic study of the paintings within the samâhâne highlighted an initial phase in which light colors were used. The dome, white and devoid of landscapes, was characterized by 8 windows that evoke the 4 elements of nature and their intermediates. In the final stage, the windows were closed, and the dome was painted with Ottoman Turkish-inspired landscapes. In our restoration intervention, we preserved the final configuration of the building, as it was better documented. However, the previous phases of the building's history have been accentuated and, where possible, recovered, all while respecting its complex symbolism. The windows have been reactivated by applying the relative pictorial layer on movable panels, so as to recover both their symbolic meaning and the function of aeration. The unified image of the dome was achieved by healing the numerous cracks and unifying the sky in the background with a veil of reversible color. The panels, indicative of a previous phase, have been left without the veil of color. The paintings of the dome, created in tempera, were found with pigments that were partially reduced to flakes, raised from the support and damaged by bad weather, which spread because of the fractures of the dome, by now in the process of collapsing. The cleaning and consolidation work was particularly demanding, but at the same time didactically useful for the training of the personnel assigned by the Egyptian Antiquities Ministry. The paintings were secured to the support, preserving, in a unitary image recovery, most of the previous superimposed interventions. However, for half of the circular landscape area, the retouching was removed and the missing parts reintegrated. These more detailed interventions were entrusted to more motivated restorers for their specialization or as training for their academic theses. The additions were differentiated from the original with various techniques, supported by the craftsmanship of the restorers involved: dotted, hatched, or full color of different intensity. The same criterion was applied to the oil paintings in the band of inscriptions on the drum of the dome and in the tondo in the center of the dome. Both the ground floor and gallery internal walls are decorated with uniformly colored panels, demarked by frame lines. On the ground floor, the east wall, which is completely underground, was badly damaged due to the infiltration of water from the garden above. An external protective cavity was created. The internal wooden cladding was restored as much as possible, then integrated and reassembled as it originally was. The south wall, also clad in wood up to the height of the elliptical windows, was restored, preserving the windows, inserted in their respective compartments, which have been reactivated as safety doors. Under the wooden cladding, the oldest lighter colors were found, with red and blue frames, which were then recovered again, though in a different color, in the subsequent phase. We have kept the colors of the final phase, since it is more complete and consistent in the internal colors. The large Iwan was the initial settlement of the Mevlevi, then known as Zawiya Saadiya. That's where the Sama ritual took place, next to the adjacent mausoleum. With the construction of the Samakhana, the Iwan took on, within the ceremony of the Sama, the function of mausoleum, with the burial of the previous sheikh of the Brotherhood. The large stucco window and the entire covering of the Iwan, with the internal inscriptions that crown it, were created after the madrasa and are most likely the work of the Mevlevi. The restoration of the paintings in the worksite school was the subject of a training program for the students of the Department of Coptic Islamic Antiquities of the University of Tanta. The cleaning and consolidation were completed with dashed additions to the entire band of inscriptions. The intervention was thus documented, and at the same time, the decoration was recovered as a completion of the architectural image of the Iwan. The recovery of the Iwan made it possible to extend the exhibition space of the Mevlevi Museum, already developed under the Samakhana. The large display case exhibits the dervish costume in the right of the Sama, which was donated to the CIERA by the Istanbul Sema Group on the occasion of the June 30th, 1998 ceremony. Some photos and footage by Shims Friedlander show the Konya dervishes. The Turkish Minister of Culture, Dr. Fikri Saglar, donated an anastatic copy of the Mesnevi of Jalal al-Din Rumi to the museum. The work, in Persian, with more than 26,000 double verses, is Rumi's spiritual testament, aimed at conscience in the evolutionary process of human culture.